It's time for the Equity Equals Freedom podcast on WOBL. And now, here's your host, Rick Rucker.
That's right, folks. Once again, live WOBL. We are in the building. Me and my co-host, Jenny. I have to read our quick disclaimer as well, obviously being in real estate. The primary purpose of this radio show is to inform, entertain, and educate. Information, opinions, and recommendations presented during this radio show do not constitute legal or other professional advice, opinions, or endorsements of any kind. Equity Capital Mortgage Group is a division of Gold Star Corporation, NMLS number 3446, equal housing lender. Gold Star's corporate address is 100 Phoenix Drive, Suite 300, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48108. All right, so got those out of the way. Ooh, I almost run out of breath every time I do it. So in ode to the 50th anniversary of hip-hop, we have my good friend Ossie May coming on the show today. But before we get into all that, Jenny and I were going to kind of break down a little bit more about Investor Source CLE. I know a lot of folks have been hearing about it. I think some folks from the radio station has attended this. But Investor Source CLE, so next month, we have my friend Isaac Rowe and a couple other gentlemen that are in the wholesaling space coming in. And basically, what they do is they help people identify properties that you can buy, 30 to 60 cents on the dollar. So, again, Janie being the host of it, what do you think folks need to know about Investor Source CLE specifically? Not just the next event, but like what's our focus?
Yeah, not just the next event. I mean, I'm excited for this next event, though. This is going to be a good one. Because, I mean, honestly, the facts are right now is that everybody's struggling in real estate, right? Like there's no, it's not a secret. It's, I think, just well known that everybody is struggling. Lenders are struggling. Agents are struggling. Homeowners are, buyers are struggling, right? I guess the only people, sellers are doing pretty good.
Sellers
they're getting
really good.
They're getting top dollar for their listings, that's for sure. So I'm excited about this specific event just because, Isaac is really just a big name in the Cleveland area with his wholesaling, and he's doing a great job. And I think that we, as an agent, and and even speaking to maybe some of my buyers, want to know how do we get, what he gets? How do we find off-market deals like he's doing? And I think that this is just going to be a great way for even anybody who's going to attend this event to get some knowledge off of how we deal with some off-market deals and how to get them and what they're doing. So I'm excited about that one as an agent and just for, everybody who's going to be coming.
So we were just talking about Isaac and the data and statistics that go into staging. Tell the folks a little bit more about what you do specifically to help people in this market to get the top dollar for when they're selling their homes.
Yeah, so Isaac's great because he's very data driven, right? Like you and I kind of wing it. We're like just more of a whatever, let's see how it goes and hope that it works out. But Isaac is very data driven, and he's done a lot of wholesale deals, and he holds some of those, right? So when it's a good deal and he knows that he's going to hold that property and he's going to flip it or he's going to turn it into STR and Airbnb. So me and him just did our first project together.
What's a STR?
Short-term rental.
There you go.
So we, 7 months ago when I met you, I didn't know what that was. Remember?
We just spew out these acronyms all the time.
Right.
So.
And now I've learned so much from Investor Source and just being a part of you guys, and it's been amazing for me. But so he had me stage one of his listings. It's a flip that he's doing in Geneva, and beautiful. I mean, he did great. His contractors are awesome. He just did a wonderful job on it. But
yeah, we're walking up 2 buildings actually tomorrow.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, see, we're all just tied to business together now, which is another piece of why I love Investor Source, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But so for Isaac, he's done the statistics on it, and we have a video coming out soon about that. But for him, staging is a must. Right? People are visual. I'm a visualizer.
I totally agree.
So, and a lot of people are. And what's the first thing you do when you want to buy a home? What's the first thing you do? You go onto Zillow. You go into Realtor.com.
You do go to Zillow. Yep.
You start Googling homes, and what do you want to look at? Pictures.
Yes.
You want to see it, right?
We want to see we want to make sure there's plenty of room. I'm a bigger guy, I need plenty of space to get around. So that's
right. So for you, right, and everybody's a little bit different, but for a lot of people, and I'm just finding in this market, unless you are an investor, they don't want to do anything to it.
Right.
They don't want wallpaper. They don't want, you know, like old shag carpet. They don't want old countertops. They don't want old paint. They want to just get it. They want to get in and they want it to be done.
Right.
So, and honestly, like the generation that are buying houses right now don't really know how to do it.
I don't disagree with that. Yes, especially so. There's this. I am somewhat of a statistics and data guy. I mean, the folks that are buying right now are Gen Zers, millennials, a lot of women and minorities, which is obviously, you know, kind of our target market. And to your point, I think a lot of them, you know, they don't really think along the same lines as, like, you know, the generations before us or whatever. So
no, I mean the generations before us were definitely like, we could pick up a hammer. We learned those things, right? We knew how to paint. Our parents asked us to help with things like that. But the generation coming in that's going to be purchasing right now, they were behind a computer.
Right.
That's what they learned. They didn't learn, you know, these things and how to fix a tire. I mean, I'm somewhat newly divorced, but I've, you know, been in the dating world, and let me tell you how unattractive it is, but how common it is that men don't know, they're not handy.
Yeah.
They don't know how to pick up a hammer, and I'm like, what? Like, do you own a tape measure?
Yeah. I will say that I've hung a lot of, like, paintings. I've, like, changed some brakes in my day. I've definitely done some handiwork, but I also do agree with, like, generally speaking, like, our generation is like, let's work efficiently, you know, and a lot of us really just don't know how to, you know, I guess put our hands to work. So.
No, we definitely don't. So it's unfortunately not the greatest situation, and we're working with it. But that's my, you know, my quick gist on it is the fact that we need to show a visual to people. They need to see it. A lot of the world we're just visualizers, and so to have someone come in and stage it and make it pretty, it gives the client a better way to just view, right? So they're going to see the pictures, and pictures are going to be like, wow, all right, now I want to go look at this house. And then they come in the house, it's going to be just the next wow factor of, okay, now I can see myself in this house. I can see myself living in it. It's cozy. It's homey. Right. So my number one tip for staging is mirrors.
Mirrors.
Make sure that you have mirrors in the home, because it gives the buyer the opportunity to physically visualize themselves living in the home. They can see it.
I have not heard that.
Yes.
So the mirrors are the big selling point here. Okay.
Mirrors is definitely a big one. So just to kind of close it out, but Isaac, for him, it's not making more money off the listing. It's quickness. So his study was, he finds that if he has a house staged, it sells quicker. Got it. And time is money.
So we kind of went off on a tangent there on Investor Source, but it's obviously a good thing. My good friend Ossie just entered the building, and we want to obviously welcome her. But, you know, the original reason why I started Equity Equals Freedom and then really partnering with Jenny was, my focus is always how do women and minorities specifically embrace capitalism and create something that allows, you know, them to, create generational wealth. So, but without further ado, my friend Ossie is in the building. Can we get a mic check real quick? Ossie.
Hello.
There we
go.
President and CEO of Spread the Love Foundation. So I think, Ossie, the good starting point would be, I think the most impressive part, obviously, is your background and where you come from. But take us through your youth and how it kind of sounds like you grew up around Krayzie Bone and the guys in general. So.
By accident. We didn't learn that until just a few years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's even better.
Back in the day, I was a MC, battle rapper.
All right. That's fun.
Yeah. So that was back in high school. And so I had a crew, and we just found out that the one talent show that we did do, we actually tied first place with Bone.
Wow.
So, and Craig.
Good for you. That's pretty impressive, huh?
Yeah, I guess. We didn't win.
Just a little statistic she never mentioned.
Hey, didn't win. She was tied for first with them.
Yeah, so we just found that out. And so that was crazy. But yeah, my youth, I grew up in Cleveland. I'm a product of Buckeye Woodland / Fairfax area.
Yep.
I am a product of Cleveland Public Schools, but I'm a graduate of Cleveland Heights High School. I went there my senior year.
Yeah, you're like me. You went from, I was in East Cleveland when we were younger, bounced around on the west side, lived off of Clark, West 140th, and then we moved to Lakewood and then bounced out to Twinsburg, and I kind of grew up in Twinsburg. So,
okay.
Yeah, one of the suburb guys. But so that is an impressive story. I never knew that. I've known Ossie now for a better part of about a year, I want to say, and I never heard that conversation where you just smoked them on the MC battle, huh?
Yeah, and they were gonna lose because number one, I was the only female in the whole show, and I had a whole band.
Yeah.
So it's like the only female rapper. I have a whole band. My DJ is the coldest in Cleveland still to this day. No offense if you DJ. But yeah.
Who's your DJ?
His name is DJ Ivory. He's currently the DJ out at United States of America.
All right.
Yeah.
We need to go.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Let's
For
do it.
sure. And speaking of which, and I don't know if I can talk about this.
You can
they
talk
have
about
plug.
anything.
You can
As long as
plug.
you don't swear. That's
Yeah,
these guys
I agree.
sweat every time because we're live on air.
Okay. Well, thank you because I'm still waiting to be delivered. So, you know what I'm saying? Definitely give me that rule up front because it's coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'll
couple
be on
$1,000 per you swear
Yeah.
word, whatever. I don't know.
Oh, so yeah.
If me and Rick
definitely.
can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, it's
Oh
impressive.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, nobody sweating. Like Sunday, that's what Mookie said. He said, "I know you was sweating." Ossie was sweating. Like the guys doing the clean show, but they're professionals. You know,
Absolutely.
professionals. But man, I was.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is hard, because sometimes you don't think about it, and we get guests on here, and they'll get to the point, and it's you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
don't do it.
Don't
Well,
do
I was raised in a Spanish household, and you were raised in an Irish one.
Irish black, which is the
Right.
two worst combinations when it comes to swearing and tempers.
Every other word out of my mom's mouth was, and so, yeah, but no, we do good. We do good here.
It's been an adjustment.
Fine.
It's been an adjustment. So I think we were speaking earlier, obviously with my friend Dylan, and one of the most impressive things was the Michael Mauldin situation where you kind of intern from. You're kind of like me. You accidentally keep falling back into music. That's kind of like how my career path is. For 10 or 15 years, I was doing record promo for artists like Akon, Pitbull, Lady Gaga, a lot of these mainstream power acts, and I got away from it. I was like, I don't really know how to make money in that space, to the point where, I got to take care of my mom and all that good stuff. But you intern with Michael Mauldin on the Scream Tour, right?
Mm-hmm. Scream Tour 4 and 5.
And what was the background story that you just told us today? I didn't really know the story behind that, about Jermaine Dupri and all that good stuff. I mean, that's really interesting stuff.
Oh yeah, so Michael Mauldin, who is a true mogul in the entertainment space, he is or was the either president or vice president over black music for Epic. Yeah, for Epic Records. And so when my family and I, at the time I was married, we moved and relocated to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And so during this time, it's like I left my job to become the mayor's office and all of this stuff and, to become a housewife, or so he thought. And so I took the time to go back to school, switch my degree from nursing, which I went to the University of Michigan for nursing.
Yeah.
And changed and went into journalism. But my background and what I had been doing was special events, marketing, and all of that good stuff for the city.
Right.
And as a part of my degree program, we had to have an internship. So, and in the middle of all of this, Hurricane Katrina had just hit. Yeah. And so a lot of the students at Xavier and the other universities were able to enroll in colleges from where they were from.
Yeah.
So a young lady that was in one of my classes who came in as one of the students affected by Hurricane Katrina going to Xavier, I just took her under my wing, introduced her to some people and some key staff people, just saying, for financial aid if you need it, here's here's some other people that I've met that are more your age that you might, And so after I found out I need this placement, or this internship, she's like, oh, hey, I think my mom mentioned something about they were starting a marketing program at her job. So I'm like, oh, okay, you know, cool. So she come back and she said, yeah, I talked to my mom, and she said, yeah, call this lady and they will, you know, have you come in. So I called the lady. She told me where to come. It was called MBA. And just the brief MBA. So I didn't know what MBA was.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a bank or something, know, MBA. And so I show up at the address, and it's like this totally vacant building. And it's like this yellow building, no windows except for the first floor is all glass, and it's like nothing down there, like no cars in the parking lot, and I'm
sketchy.
looking like, right, I'm like
do I want to go in here?
Right. It's just some human trafficking stuff. Like, where
maybe
where the heck do they have me?
You never know.
But they gave
Thank
me
God you were safe.
Right. They gave me specific instructions, though. When you come to the door, buzz this certain floor or code or whatever, somebody let you in, come to blah, 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 make a blah, 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 get on the elevator, come up to the whatever floor.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that is every, like, other than like Universal and SRC, like G Unit was like that too.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Super sketchy, like you go up to like this.
They don't want anybody to know.
They don't want anybody to know. And this
Mm-hmm.
was old school. I mean, this is, you know, I mean, people talk about like, this is when everything was bulletproof with 50 cents.
Oh,
yeah.
I was
really?
going to
now I'm hooked. Okay, you go up and what? Where were
Oh,
you?
so I'm just, so it's like a picture of a department store, like a Maze on the Heights or something, if you guys are familiar. So a department store is no windows, just on the first floor, got glass and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what it looked like a abandoned department
Total
store.
sketchy building. Yeah.
So I go in, I get on the elevator, I press the floor, and the doors open up, and it's like, as soon as the doors open, it's a big giant sign that says So Deaf Records.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I'm telling you, that a lot of them are like that, where you're just like, where am I at?
yeah, so at the right end of the hallway,
So
it
you're
was
like,
So
whoa.
Deaf. It was the door that said, glass door said So Deaf. And at the other end of the hall, it was the glass door that said MBA, Mauldin Brand Agency.
Right.
So I'm like, okay,
Okay.
I'm going, I guess I'm going this way to the right.
You didn't try to venture in and see, like, you know, was the Brat there, or like any.
So I'm getting to all of that. I'm getting to all of that.
This is intriguing. This is.
And then
know.
I
This is
have
my heart.
stories about my ex-husband who has been in entertainment for decades. And so he was in the gospel stage play, and he started with Tyler Perry before
Wow.
Tyler Perry became who he is.
Juggernaut, yeah.
Yeah, and so just now he's a part of Steve Harvey camp and working with all of them. So I've been
Wow.
around entertainment my whole entire, but never just in it, but
Yeah.
around it.
Just around it by mistake. I just feel like entertainment is generally like that.
Yeah, so I open the door and I go in, and there's like all of these records, like everywhere. So I'm looking like, and so there's a receptionist. We in the lobby in the receptions, and so it's all of these platinum records and all of this stuff, and it's like these red round.
So you're like,
So I'm
not so
like-
sketch. I'm in the right place.
I'm in the
No, I
right
know.
place, but I'm just still like, what is it?
Yeah.
So I know what So Deaf is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So at this time, I didn't know who
Who the
he
guy was.
was. I didn't know where I was at. I didn't know nothing, but evidently this got something to do with records. And so, you know... So I met with the young ladies who was the marketing manager at the time, and I believe she still is Michael Mauldin's marketing person is Erica Thomas. So that's who I had the interview with. And so when we sat down, first of all, I'm a non-traditional age student, and I've already been in management for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So at this time, she explained to me where I was and who all they managed. So he also is the manager for Bow Wow. At this time, he was managing Bow Wow, the
Columbus
Brat.
in the building, Columbus 614.
Yeah, the Bone Crusher, Common. He did the
I didn't know
movie
that.
we did marketing for Smoking Aces, something like that.
Yeah.
Shantae Moore and Kenny Lattimore when they were married and doing what they were doing. So we did marketing for all of that. So the interesting part about this was her work goal was to start this internship program. And so it was like, oh, okay, well, I got to come in to do it, so I'd be happy to learn some other stuff, or whatever. Well, fast forward, we come in, and then on the tour, this was BET had sponsored the Scream Tour 4 with Bow Wow and all of that. And then Bow Wow did something on the tour. Either he smacked somebody, he smacked a fan, or spit on somebody or something. And so BET was talking about pulling the sponsorship for the tour. And so Erica had to go into emergency mode to save the sponsorship and everything. And so I ended up implementing the program under her direction and working for her as an assistant to work with the interns, the college kids, to implement the internship program. Wow. So they came up with the recognition with the intern of the month. And so on his wall, and when you enter his office, I am the very first name on his wall as his very first intern of the month.
That's incredible.
And so come to find out, the young lady who was affected by Hurricane Katrina, her mom is Michael Mauldin's sister, who is the office manager and the chief of staff, who was saying, we started an intern program at my job. So she never told me who her mom was or that none of this. I just met her through. So all
because you were kind to someone who is struggling out of, like a disaster situation. Exactly. So all because you were spreading the love. Look at how that all works out.
And that's how I came to work for. That is how I came to work with Mike White and become his scheduler. I didn't know nothing about politics. I started working with him as a temp.
Right.
Wow. Through a temp agency, through helping somebody else who my friend was a temp person who got the people hired. And she called me and was like, I got a position over here. Well, it was actually a he. It's a position over here that I think you might be perfect for. And it was supposed to be a 2-week temp position. And she was like, well, okay, you passed the type of test. You got like 23 out of 100.
23 out of 100.
Right.
That sounds about right for government.
Story, though. What a great story. And it's like just huge, and how you work hard and you put yourself in situations and you network and you meet the right people, that it puts you in the right spot. So
yeah, it's all God. So in every position, every opportunity that have been like big opportunities for me, I have always been presented. So it wasn't the stuff that I sought after or whatever. It was always somebody, even with Krayzie Bone coming and saying, hey, I'm trying to get this stuff going in Cleveland. I haven't been able to get any traction with these people I've been working with. Can you take the lead on this for me? Yeah. And I'm like, let me look into it. I'll get back to you in a week. And that's kind of how everything was.
So they came to you.
Yeah.
So, just being presented, but work ethic, and people know I have a high quality of work and excellence, and that's how I lead, and that's how I manage, and that has opened a lot of doors of opportunity for me.
Love that.
And one thing I can, fully attest to with Ossie, like, I've worked with a lot of artists. Like, I'm kind of like a behind the scenes guy. I don't really talk about it a lot, but like probably like dozens of everybody you've heard on the radio for the last probably 20 years I've at some point worked with or whatever. But the thing that a lot of artists miss, in my opinion, is strong management, because they'll, get cousin Ray Ray that doesn't know anything about business or whatever, pull him in with no education or whatever, and they think that that's going to work. But if you look at like the Paul Rosenbergs and Scooter Braun and those guys that are just juggernaut at QC, like those guys are just juggernaut managers or whatever, like dealing with massive artists. The biggest thing that with those guys is like there's tons of structure. And I will say, like, when I started working with you, especially, with what Kray's doing and all that good stuff, I was just like, man, this is just so much easier to work with Ossie, because she's like structured and she's organized and she understands the business piece. But we'll go back to Michael Mauldin. So what was the story you told me also earlier about like the whole History behind Mike Mauldin? Because I thought that was like pretty intriguing, like how he like was the first one to take like hip hop on tours and stuff like that. Isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and so that was the original first tour brand that he started, was the very first hip hop tour so everybody was doing shows, and hip hop was a thing.
Right.
And it was my very first concert that I ever attended ever, and I went by myself, and I must have been maybe 12.
What?
12 or 14. Yeah.
I allowed to cross the street at 12.
Girl, right. Some of the stuff I look back and I'm just like, we have to talk off. Because if my kids.
That's for later? Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God.
Kids are tuned in.
How are we still here?
Yeah.
So, but I can't even remember what we was talking about.
So your first show, you said that you were going to, you were young.
The Fresh Fest. Mm-hmm. And so the Fresh Festival, which this was the very first hip-hop tour, he owned the brand. So he was the first one to actually brand a tour, and especially he was the first one to do an actual hip-hop tour, not a show, but actually where they had date after date after date. And that was the first branded tour, was the Fresh Festival. And they used to come every year. And then they had a major sponsor, which was Swatch Watch. Wow. Back in the day. And this is when Jermaine Dupri was a backup dancer for Houdini.
I thought that was hilarious.
That's how he got started. Yeah. And his dad was this big mogul person, but him starting the Fresh Festivals, that was his claim to fame. And then after that, he became a label executive and kind of climbed the ranks. And then eventually he became the head honcho.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And he named Alicia Keys. He gave her her name.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I always thought that was Clive Davis that was like attached to like Alicia Keys and like bringing her up or whatever. But that's an impressive story. So we'll put a pin in the music thing because we're gonna keep talking about that or whatever. But what was the? Because Jenny actually has a similar background. How was the adjustment going from like the music business to like politics and just like walking into that? Like how did you navigate that? Because I know politics is like a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like, how was that transition for you?
Well, I would say I kind of was blessed with the opportunity to watch it for a long time from afar. Like I mentioned, the temp opportunity of going in to become Mayor White's scheduler his last term in office totally came from a temp position. Yeah. And so I actually was assistant scheduler, and then the lady who was in the first seat, her fiance had a motorcycle accident, and so she was out for his FMLA or however long she could be out with him. And then by the time she came back, he didn't want her back in the position. He liked the way I did stuff and had stuff set up. And structure. Then he liked the structure, and, you know, he sent her to work with the chief of staff, and he wanted me to go into the first role, but then I declined and I wouldn't do it. So then he had to hire like 2 or 3 more people, and he fired them all within the first 60 days. And then finally, he asked me for the 3rd or 4th time, and then I finally said, yeah, with my list of demands.
So you were in local politics.
Oh, yeah. So I am actually on the Central Committee and Executive Committee for the Cuyahoga Democratic Party. Okay. Yes, I'm in the governing committees. Yes.
Wow.
Girl, you telling me wow.
I know. Yeah. So I did local government for a long time until I jumped ship and decided that real estate was a better option for me.
It was a great idea.
It was. And you know what? I mean, I did it for 10 years. I worked for Ohio Means Jobs. So yeah. So United Labor Agency were the contractor that came in, and we did the one-stop services. So all of the reemployment services for Cuyahoga County. They called me the angel of death because I was the one. Oh God. I know. Wow. How did I get that name? I know. It's better than it sounds, but so it's really how so I did broadcasting communications for a while, and that's how I got like my the speaking ability. But really it was from this job, because I had to go in whenever there was a layoff or a closure in the Cuyahoga County area, sometimes outside, and there was a lot of layoffs happening, 10, 15 years ago. I was the one going out and telling the people that they were losing their jobs. Oh, so, wow, that's a tough one. Yeah, it was hard. So it was a rapid response grant that we had gotten from the federal government that, it all sectors down. And that was me. They hired me to be that person. so I had to, like we do in any business, I had to figure out the best way of presenting it, right? So it was, okay, that's the negative, but there has to be a positive. What's the positive? And the positive was, one, I was coming out to tell them there's unemployment benefits available to you, so it's not the end. And then two, it was, most people hate what they're doing anyways, right? Most people hate what they're doing. They're in the job because they have to do it. And I was going to factories often, right? And they didn't like what they were doing. So it was, all right, there's money available to you from the government to help you get into a certification or a trade or whatever it might be. Use this money and let's find you something better, you know? So it was, the angel of death part was like, yes, here I am telling you some really bad news, but the positive is this is an opportunity for you to completely revamp your life and recreate yourself and do something you never thought you'd have the opportunity to do. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so I did that for a long time, and then when that grant was over, I did business services. I helped head the reemployment part where we were working with the businesses in the county. So,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Great job. I really did love it. The political piece is very hard. You can either do it or you can't. So I decided I like selling homes and making them pretty instead. Here I am.
Politics is, I got friends that are lobbyists on both the left and the right side. And, I was when the RNC came through to Cleveland, I'm not going to say front row, I'm not that important, but like I was like down on the floor, like I was very active in working with the GOP or whatever. And, in this radio station, we're not for or against any political party. I mean, my views are typically middle of the way, but politics in general, like that's how stuff gets done in the United States. And, you need to have friends on both sides of the aisle, which a lot of times people, they look what's on TV, but that's not the reality of the situation.
Right. That's right.
Well, yeah, that's 100%. I think we've all learned that. I hope a lot of people learn that. There's obviously people who haven't learned that, but what you see on television is most often not true. So I think the big piece, and I think we talked about this the other day, is having your own opinion.
Yeah.
We have to have our own opinion. We have to create those opinions, and you can't believe everything that you hear, that you see. That's what they want you to do, right?
Yeah.
They want you to believe everything that you're hearing and you're seeing, and we have to be better, and we have to be smarter, and we have to create our own opinions and our own views and do our own, research, because media is no longer, journalism is no longer.
It's not journalism
it's
anymore.
not. It's storytelling.
Yeah.
So whatever the hell we want. Was I allowed to say that word?
You can
okay.
You can say that one.
Okay,
You can say that one. There's a select few you can say, and that's one of them. Thank you, Jenny, for not dropping the ball.
I just broke the ice. I'm going to drop it there.
Let's not spiral.
But that's it, right? So it's just, I think that that's, a few years ago, we were so divided. And I think it's so refreshing now to feel like I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel divided. I feel like it doesn't matter where you come from, what your views are, you can be. So I think politics now are a little bit better than they were a few years ago.
A little bit.
I'm going to say that I'm out of it. So
No, so, well, first and foremost, we're a nonprofit, so we have to work across the aisles.
Yeah.
And so personally, and stepping away from spread the love, my own personal views as Ossie May is you can't change nothing from the outside, and there's definitely room for change on both sides.
Absolutely.
And so how do we come in and heal some of the divide, because it's going to take everybody working together across the aisles in order to make this the country that we all want to see. That is a place that everybody can be proud to represent and be from, and be able to realize whatever their dream and purpose is.
Yeah.
And so when you really pull the curtain back and you get active and you really see what's going on, what's behind the veil, you really come to realize that it really don't matter what side of the fence you on, because it's all kind of really the same.
And if you really think about it, that's such a great statement. If you really think about it, when you do pull back the curtain and you really do realize what it is, you realize that we're probably all more on the same side than we think.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you really look at what's happening behind the scenes and what's going on, and like our values kick in, and we realize that at the end of the day, we really probably all want the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, and especially being a trained journalist and by degree and by trade,
you're probably in shock with how the media is these days.
It's a lot of framing, issue framing, so they do a lot of smoke and mirrors. So
tons.
when they want you to not pay attention to something, they will create something. And then the other thing with the conglomerate media companies that control all the media, even this station that is on, is all tied to the same 6 companies in the world. So who really, when they talk about the Illuminati and stuff, and reel me back in, Rick, when
you're good. No, I will say they are independently owned at WOBL,
okay.
thankfully.
Yeah.
So they're not by
There's a reason Rick chose this station.
Yeah, I'm a free thinker. Like I couldn't probably sit on some of these juggernaut stations the way and even the way they treat the artists and the music, they've turned it way too political, but also like heavy money driven. And I'm an artist myself. Like I DJ'd for years. I was in music, so like I appreciate the art of it, but the conglomerates really do take out the art of it. But the whole story behind WOBL is they are independently owned. It was a guy from Chicago that originally purchased it. Just came down to Cleveland and was like, hey, I like this radio station or whatever. And Cool Cat has been around for how long, guys? Like, what's 50 years? 20, okay.
Wow.
Gotcha, yeah.
This one, 50.
Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, so anyway, I mean, not to ramble on about that too much, but yeah, this is an independently owned radio station.
And that's great.
Yeah.
And that's great. Because that's one of the things that our professors really opened my eyes to, was really about mass communications. And when you really look at it on a global scale, it really is like 6 companies that's controlling everything that we see, everything that we read.
And that's scary.
So, and that
I just read
really
about something like that. Like, if you really think about how big some of these corporations are, and then, like, I mean, even in our business, we all have verticals. It doesn't matter. Like, I've actually learned this in some semester source, but it's very important for us to have those verticals, right? So if I think about me just starting out in real estate and my staging business and design and like all these things that I'm trying to do, think of how big. Right? Like how big when like the Jeff Bezos. He doesn't just own one company, right? Yeah. He's going to own a whole lot more than that. And what happens when they own so much, right? Like, well, then their opinions now become our opinions.
Well, thankfully, Tyler Perry just bought back BET and VH1, so that's at least a start of like independent.
Yeah, but it's like he bought those 2 brands, but all of the other ones that's still owned by Viacom.
Yeah.
So it's Disney, Viacom, Time Warner. And whatever the Fox, so it's Fox, Viacom, Disney, Time Warner, AOL.
No pressure.
Right, and the 2 other ones, but
somebody's been doing their research.
Yeah.
So they own all the radio, all the television, all of the print, all of the newspapers and the magazines and the everything. So when you really get into it, it's like they only gonna say whatever is in the best interest of the people that are sitting at the top of those corporations. So now that's why you see a lot of turnover that's happening at CNN.
Right.
Look, all of these places and stuff, because it really is. And so, you know, when people have those conversations about the Illuminati and these people controlling the world and how things go down, that's who they really should be talking about, is these media companies and giants that control what the media can and these journalists can and can't say, or what all this fuzzy math and all these.
My statistics professor in college, I think it was when I was going for my master's. He always had super dry jokes, and I was the only person that got them. But he said something along the lines of "Stats don't lie, statisticians do." And when we saw COVID come out, and data and research, that all went out the window because everybody was in panic. And instead, the left and the right coming together and saying, everybody calm down. It was like you were letting people that probably failed basic level statistics try to figure out 1 in 100 people have COVID. It was like, and it was like driving me insane. I had to turn off my numbers brain when I would get on social media, because I was like, these people don't know what they're talking about. Like,
I have a whole different idea and intuition about why COVID happened.
Well, they just announced something. I just read something, and again, like sometimes I get nervous. I'm like, wait, is this true? How do you even know what to believe?
We don't want to get flagged on YouTube.
Right, when you're like, yeah. I mean, but it isn't, truth doesn't even matter.
But that's scary
YouTube
that they can flag
They'll
you
take
for
you
talking
down
about it.
just because they don't like what you said, though.
Yeah,
It doesn't even, it's not about truth anymore. It's about opinion. Yeah. And if they don't like what you say, they're going to take it down. It has nothing to do about truth.
Yes.
And that's the problem. But I did read something, and they said the numbers are so wrong. They're so wrong, and like COVID could have ended a year before than it really. Like I don't know. I just read it, and I'm like, oh, it sounds kind of right.
So let me just use this analogy. So, and this is how I explain to people why the world will never be a place of this kumbaya that everybody aspires to see or to be a part of. Is because
I don't know. I feel like I could be part of that world.
I don't like kumbaya. I'm a fighter. Everybody doesn't have to be best friends. I'm libertarian when it comes to that. Like, we don't have to be best friends.
And that's my point, is as long as free will exists, in order for people to really, everybody has to have the same thought and the same, I'm going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But what is the right thing for you is not necessarily the right thing for me.
Sure.
Because with every high and every low, there's a winner and loser in everything. Right. So you can't get too high with your high and too low with your lows, because even if you won the job, that means somebody else didn't get the job.
Right.
If you found $10, that means somebody lost $10.
That's very true.
So at the end of the day, why things won't change is because our society has become a society of a baby is found floating up the creek, right? So John jumps in to save the baby, come back, and it's like, this baby need clothing, it need a place to stay. So Miss Jones gonna clothe the baby. Mr. Williams up the street got a shop that sell clothes, so he gonna make sure the baby had clothes. Farmer Joe got the milk and the eggs and the formula for the baby. And then we have the social services that say, hey, we can pay Miss Jones to keep the baby. We need somebody to keep the baby. So now, Miss Jones, we going to pay you X amount of dollars a month to keep the baby. And then John, who jumped in the river, who saved the baby, now is being recognized. Then next thing you know, the next day, another baby coming up the stream. John jumps in, he saved the baby, he give it to Miss Johnson. Miss Johnson go to Mr. Jack, the farmer, get some milk. Then the company, the social services, find another place to say, Miss Johnson, we got another baby for you. Here go another whatever a month. Next thing you know, is another baby coming up the street. Dang, this is happening every day now. Let me get in here and get this. Now, John, he on the front cover of Sports Illustrated for the best swimmer.
And Illustrated.
Nobody has an interest in finding out why are these babies coming up the stream.
You're saying getting to the root of the problem.
And now everybody is too invested, because now I'm selling a ton of milk. I got, you know what I'm saying, social
making
services.
Money off of the
Miss
problem.
Jones, I'm getting babies and I'm getting money a month. So it's like, who's vested in finding out why the baby's coming up the stream?
Have you ever watched the special about how food is made in this country? It is absolutely...
Oh, no, I couldn't.
It made me not eat meat for like 4 days, but I really like steak.
It's terrifying.
So it was a struggle.
It's terrifying.
But I did, and it was bad.
So like large conglomerate, like literally, like I guess the potato manufacturing, once like McDonald's came along, like McDonald's owns like 70% of that. Some staggering statistic about all the potatoes in the world. So the mass production.
Then why are their fries not real? Can I say that?
Well, whatever.
I mean, anything that doesn't mold when you find it in your car after like 2 years and it still look like a French fry. Come on now.
Yeah, it's like 10 years. The one guy still has one from 10 years ago. But anyway, they were talking about the food, and it put like all these like smaller farmers that had like the pure clean stuff on an assembly line, and like it was mortifying watching how like food is made. So like non-GMO and stuff like that, like you should really watch it, like for those like conspiracy theories. I'm somewhat a conspiracy theorist. I'm kind of like middle of the way, like, but I do think that like there's a lot of information that's not being told to us that we should know, because a lot of this stuff, like like there was something that they were talking about like back in the day when it comes to what's the stuff they put in pans? Not Teflon, but there's some type of spray that like was a super carcinogen, and for like decades people were getting sick by it.
Oh, Scotch Guard?
I think it may have been Scotch Guard or something along those, like not Scotch Guard in general, but like there's a product in Scotch Guard, I think. And it was like just getting people like sick, whatever. So there's like a lot of stuff that we don't know when it comes to like your food and the stuff that you eat and all that good stuff. But we can go off on a tangent on that. I know
this has been a very interesting episode.
Yeah, we got away from business. We're just like talking about all kind of crazy
I'm going to try
stuff.
and bring it back in because I feel like we haven't fully talked about it. I want to know, like, can you tell us about Spread Love Foundation?
Yes.
Like, can you, I'm loving the heart and the shirt, the Spread Love Foundation, their logo, and then your heart glasses. I mean, killed it.
Took me by surprise.
Nailed
the first
it.
time I met her. I was like, she is a sub-branding genius for that.
So cute.
Oh, that's my
I didn't, like, you walked in, I saw the glasses, I'm like, those are cute. I want a pair. And then I saw your shirt, and I'm like, oh, I see what she did there. So very cute. But can you, tell us. So what is Spread Love Foundation? And, just tell us more. I want to hear.
Oh, sure. So Spread the Love Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit in Cleveland. We're based in Cleveland, and we are founded and chaired by Cleveland's own Krayzie Bone, Anthony Henderson. I am the founding president and CEO, and since 2020 rather, we started this journey to number one, build the Bone Thugs and Harmony Urban Arts Academy in Glenville, and so that's really where it started. And as we have been garnering support from the community and all of the politicians, community leaders, and organizational leaders, it's grown. And they like, you got to make this bigger. Tell Krayzie Bone to think bigger, because with the brand and how strong the brand is, and especially with this being based on tourism, which is what any city wants to see, we have the opportunity to really capitalize on a global brand that's recognized on six continents, that just their music has branded like a street corner that
70
we have.
million records sold, no big deal.
How many?
70 million between the groups, between the individual. Krayzie Bone had individual products. Lazy, Busy, all had personal.
Now I have their music going through my head. Right?
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, they're classic.
Oh my God. And of course, and just obviously for us, I think it means a lot because we're from Cleveland. And so, that's huge. But that's amazing to hear that they're doing such big things for the area. And I'm excited. That's great. Good for you.
So our programming, we actually are bringing music industry business training to Cleveland and to our creatives. So youth and young adults, and that's what our programs are centered around. So for our young adults, they'll actually have the opportunity to attend a cohort led by Krayzie Bone and handpick industry professionals who we have partnered with to come in to actually teach our students what Bone and Krayzie Bone wish they had known when they started this. And so that's Krayzie Bone's vision. Number one is to keep the money here, to keep the brands here. And so his mantra is nobody should have to take a one-way ticket anywhere. They should be able to walk up the street and get on.
Yeah.
And so how do we do that? We do that by, number one, relocating his companies, his record label, his apparel companies, all of his companies that he had are going to be headquartered out of Cleveland.
No
and
way.
So those will be some of the businesses coming into the district that we're working on.
Yeah.
And just really creating that interest and exposure for our young people through our interaction in our program for the actual school. So the younger students will be exposed to the plethora of careers behind the scenes. So that's not an industry here. So most of them aspire to be the stage talent because that's what they see every day.
Of course.
Right.
And so,
but the money's actually in writing and production, which is crazy. Like a lot of people don't realize that.
everybody gets paid before the artist.
100%,
okay.
Yeah.
And
so you're informing, because you're right. Like, I think that again with social media and like just this, like the youth now, right? Like it's all they're watching. My kids, it drives me insane. But they're on the phones on YouTube, and it's my daughter now like will do all the dances for all the artists, you know. And I mean it's super cute. But I'm like, okay, who? And she knows them, but it's like.
Who is this?
Right. Like, I don't know who half of them are, but to think that that's who she's focusing on, not what happens behind the scenes, not who's writing, right? Not who's doing the choreography for her, not all of what's happening. There's just so much that goes into being an artist. So to be able to teach them some of those things is great. Now, are you guys like infiltrating the schools? Like, how are you getting the youth? How are they coming to you guys?
Yeah, so that's our next phase of our programming. So our interest to income program is launching 2024, and we actually have a partnership with Microsoft. So Microsoft, who is now going into, I don't even know if I could talk about this because they're making the announcement on the BET Awards.
We don't mind if you put it on here.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Hey, we're going to go viral because of this.
You heard it first on...
We'll take it.
So, I don't know that I can talk about it, but Microsoft and Def Jam, Universal Def Jam are making a big announcement on the BET Awards whenever that's scheduled to air. And Spread the Love has been selected as one of the geographical locations for this partnership between Microsoft and Universal Def Jam.
Awesome. So, well, folks, you heard it here first.
Yes. We're going viral because of it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, man, we're excited. Yeah. And so that's for our young adults. And then for our school program, we are already in talks with the mayor's office and CMSG about bringing our programming into the school. So for our younger youth, they will have the opportunity through curriculum, classroom curriculum, and career days and open houses to be exposed to the different careers. And then for our older high school students, we'll have the opportunity to take our programming as an elective. So now instead of woodworking and auto mechanics, they'll have the opportunity to do the interest to income program, which will teach them about music recording and music business and the arts and creatives in that way. And so what's special about our program is we really give them the how-to tools, how to generate income from your passion and what your interest is.
Oh. Does that include like the writing and the producing side of it as well?
So all of it. So and we have a framework that takes them from the beginning of concept, how music is created, and takes them all the way through the promotion, performance, distribution
the marketing side. There's so much to it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. Like, until I got into the music business, I was like, I just thought you made a song and it got on radio. And then it was like, you have to understand how BDS works, and you have to understand, like, the labels are looking at charts and they're looking at, how's your YouTube presence? Do you have a local buzz going on? Blah, blah, blah. There's just, and that's the problem. Like, they don't do a lot of A&Ring anymore to, like, develop kids. They actually want, like, an end product.
Exactly.
And then at that point, you got a guy like, NBA Youngboy who was making like $30 million a year on like YouTube and different stuff like that, where it's like, why do you even need a label? But that's a genius idea, because nobody's like teaching people like the business aspect, and it is a business. Like, make no mistake about it. Like, working for Ozone Magazine and This Is 50.com and like those other like publications or whatever are attached to music, like it's all intertwined. Like, everybody like knows each other and stuff like that, and you really have to understand like that street stuff like goes away when it comes, like, you can talk about it all you want, but like when it comes to like being in a boardroom with like corporate executives, like that street stuff, like nobody wants to deal with that, like at all. So like, even if you come from that, like, Ossie and I have fairly similar backgrounds, like, we come from like, certain neighborhoods or whatever, but like you got to grow out of that. And I think the biggest thing, like with our generation, when we were sitting down for Kray's 50th birthday the other day, like I was saying, like our generation, like our heroes weren't like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. I mean, they are, but like our heroes were like Tupac and Bone Thugs and Harmony and like Biggie and like everything, like everybody talking about like what we're going through or whatever was like our like inspiration as kids or whatever. So, just sitting down with him, like for his birthday party, just for me, like as a kid was, humbling, because like these are the guys that I grew up listening to when I was going through and I was being a knucklehead and I was doing all the crazy stuff as a, I think at that point, like a middle schooler or whatever, like, we were running around wearing Dickies and doing all kind of crazy stuff. But, just to sit down with him and get to know him as a person over the last like year and a half through my guy Tim and obviously Ossie, like I just appreciate being a part of the movement. And not only that, but my passions in real estate, when you start talking about how big this project is, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, that's a massive project. Like you're trying to create a whole district in a neighborhood that's depressed and impoverished. And we know that people buy from around the globe in Cleveland. Like we have the highest appreciation. We have the highest cash flows. It is cheaper to buy here than it is to rent. We're one of 4 markets in the United States. So everybody that says like Cleveland's the armpit of the Midwest or whatever, they must not know money. Because all we hear about is how great it is and how cheap it is to like buy up property here and create cash flows for yourself. We've
literally seen Atlanta make the transformation. In our lifetime, we've seen Atlanta go through the transformation that it's gone through. And so that's where Cleveland is now. But the culture in Cleveland, amongst Clevelander, in my opinion, let me put that on there, this is my opinion, is it's a wait and see city.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wait and see if somebody else,
and then get mad.
Well, man, I know when they did, but
I think unless you live here, I agree with that. Like, it's a wait and see. Unless you're like, I think.
No, I'm talking about the people who live here are the wait and see
like
people.
The people in the city,
like that's why so many people outside of Cleveland. Now that's the new issue is property owners are upset because so many investors are coming into Cleveland and buying all the real estate and doing all these developments that's raising the property taxes. Because guess what? That's at the end of the day. How you think people that been in Tremont or Ohio City, and I have a $50,000 home that I work a modest job and everything, and so now you building $4 million, $6 million properties, man.
Well, cash out, sell it. No.
And then a lot, man.
Why look so high? That's
if you need that, if you are one of these people, you can call Rick. He'll help you.
No, but I agree. I agree generally with speaking with what Ossie's saying, because it's like, like East Cleveland, where I was born or whatever. My mom, we lived in Crystal Towers, all that good stuff. Like, who gets squeezed out is, grandma or grandpa who bought years ago or whatever, and they bought it super cheap. And to your point, they get a tax bill that's like quadruple whatever, that it originally was, and they wind up getting squeezed out. So, but I think it's also like a delicate line of like us just taking accountability as a culture and start buying the neighborhoods that we live in. It's statistically proven. When you buy the neighbors, first of all, you're always going to create wealth through real estate. That's what we created this whole podcast. It's what we created Investor Source. All we're telling everybody is like you create wealth through real estate. You know what I'm saying? But it really boils down to people that, obviously are from the culture. Like we're all, minorities, whatever, explaining to people like, hey, we look like you. We've done it. Like you got to stop like complaining about investors coming in. You got the down payment. Go buy a 2 to 4 unit.
Invest in your own city, and I agree with you. We're seeing it, and I just again quickly because I think we're about out of time.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Read a statistic again, and I read things, and I'm like, wait, is it true? But it was from Cleveland Scene, and it said that they did a study, and it was the properties that are struggling, with issues like citations, things like that, are out-of-state investors that have purchased the homes.
That's part of it.
It's not when we own a home and we're doing it, local investors, we take care of our properties, but these out-of-state investors are coming in, they're swooping them up. They don't care. They're not here. They don't see it, and they're just not maintaining these properties.
They're not maintaining. They're not passionate of making sure that, like the violence goes down, like, we start caring about our community. When grandma or grandpa or your parents own the property, you're not going to be out here wilding out in the streets or whatever, when you know that's going to be your future piece of wealth. But we'll end on how do people get a hold, or how do people get more involved with helping spread the love? Because it is a fantastic organization, and I'm sure there's people that are listening that want to get involved.
Sure. Visit our website. It is Spread the Love OH. We all know that OH, right?
Yo, baby.
.com, and then all of our social media channels are Spread the Love OH.
Okay.
So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and again, you can shop for merchandise. You can make a donation. Everything is tax deductible. We are 501c3, as well as if you'd like to volunteer with us, there's a form you can fill out to let us know what your interests are. Also, just stay tuned. Our calendar of events where we plan to be, just all of that information. Our programs, when we will be launching our interest in income, we'll be out in the schools this fall.
Awesome.
Really promoting that. And then our other community outreach efforts as far as our winter coat and sock drive, we do that at Thanksgiving. Instead of giving out turkeys, we give out coats.
That's a great idea.
Our partnership with Coats for Kids.
Yeah.
And then for Christmas, we do, for the holiday, we do toys with the Toys for Tots organization.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we get cut off by the soundboard guy, no, I'm just kidding. Wanted to wrap it up again. We appreciate my friend Ossie coming in. Spread the Love organization.
Thank you.
Great thing. Jay Bella, make sure you support Jay Bella. Make sure you support Women Who Invest in Real Estate, which is tomorrow night. Yes. My sister's event. And Icon, Investor Source CLE. So on that note, we are signing off. Another great Wednesday, and we appreciate everybody that tuned in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The proceeding was a paid informational program. The views and opinions expressed were not necessarily those of the staff, management, or advertisers of WOBL Radio.